Film historian Leonard Maltin has been writing about movies for over half a century, and his top 12 60s films might surprise you. From acclaimed classics to lesser-known favorites, these movies are way too good to skip, even if you think you've seen it all from the decade. Sam Peckinpah's bloody masterpiece about a gang of thieves in the dying days of the Old West shocked moviegoers in 1969 with its excessive violence. Those scenes are no less impactful today, not because of their graphic nature, but because Peckinpah connects the violence on an emotional level. Robert Ryan plays a former member of the gang hired to hunt them down by the railroad they stole from. It's excessive and stylized, but it is also a masterwork by Peckinpah. The film earned 2 Oscar nominations, but won neither. Stanley Kubrick made 4 films in the 1960s, and 2 of them made Maltin's list. The celebrated director partnered with legendary sci-fi author Arthur C. Clarke to adapt his short story The Sentinel into 2001, A Space Odyssey, a landmark film about man's first contact with aliens. Deliberately paced and visually striking, 2001 remains a masterpiece without equal, with an unforgettable ending. It won a single Oscar for Best Visual Effects, although Kubrick's direction was nominated. If you don't know Federico Fellini's work, this movie throws you right into the deep end of his surreal, dreamlike world, and it only takes 5 minutes to realize it. The film follows a burned-out director as he navigates a midlife crisis through a non-linear mix of scenes, dreams, and pure cinematic chaos. It's visually stunning and a bit of a head trip, but it won 2 Oscars, for Best Costume Design and Best Foreign Language Film. A generation raised on Dateline and Murder podcasts will likely take issue with the logic of Blow Up, a film about a shallow, self-centered London photographer who inadvertently photographs a murder. No one reacts the way they should, but director Michelangelo Antonioni instead has his focus on the film's depiction of 1960s mod culture and the carefree attitudes of the period. The film nabbed Academy Award nominations for Best Director for Antonioni and Best Original Screenplay. It remains one of the most ambiguous and brilliant films ever made. Director Arthur Penn's take on the legendary crime duo was groundbreaking in its grittiness, violence, and cynicism, which resonated with late 1960s America. Old Hollywood might have romanticized Bonnie and Clyde in earlier years, but in the American New Wave, screenwriters David Newman and Robert Benton portrayed them as dark, lost souls. Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove seemingly becomes more timely with each passing year, a sad commentary on today's geopolitics. The film, involving a nuclear war with Russia, is similar in theme to the film Fail Safe, released later the same year, except this one is a black satirical comedy rather than a straight political drama. Strangelove is the superior film, however, on the strength of Peter Sellers' Oscar-nominated performance alone. It was nominated for 4 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director, but didn't win a single one. Dustin Hoffman made a splash in The Graduate, his first leading film role, playing a college grad in Over His Head when he begins an affair with an older married woman. Things get even more complicated when he falls in love with the woman's daughter. The movie is both smart and funny on a level that few films since have equaled. Hoffman, Bancroft, and Ross were all nominated for Oscars, but director Mike Nichols won the film's only Oscar for Best Director. One of 2 Federico Fellini films on Maltin's list, La Dolce Vita is not only one of the Italian director's best films, it is perhaps the most accessible for moviegoers unfamiliar with the director's work. Marcello Mastroianni plays a tabloid journalist living in Rome, having an affair with an actress he follows around. The fantastic costume design won an Oscar. One of Hollywood's last great old-school epics is still one of the finest films ever made. Lawrence of Arabia has its feet in 2 worlds. It offers the grand excess of Hollywood's golden age, while exhibiting deeper, more complicated character studies that would define the films of the late 1960s and the 1970s. O'Toole was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor for his fantastic performance, as was Omar Sharif for Best Supporting Actor. Neither won, but the film took home 7 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director. Disney's classic musical Mary Poppins really is practically perfect in every way. Walt himself cast Julie Andrews in the lead as a nanny who turns around the fortunes of the Banks family with a little magic. The music and the film's inventive use of animation and live action are unforgettable. Andrews won the Best Actress Oscar in her first film role, and the film won 5 Oscars in all. The explicit content in Midnight Cowboy may be tame by today's standards, but in 1969, it earned a scandalous X rating from the MPAA. It now carries an R rating. The incredible performances by Dustin Hoffman and Jon Voight were nominated for Best Actor Oscars, although John Wayne won the award. Dustin Hoffman was so committed to the character of Rizzo, he did every scene with rocks in his shoe to make his limp more believable. Voight, playing a Texas hustler who tries to make it big New York City, agreed to be paid at scale in order to make sure the film was made. Alfred Hitchcock's masterpiece is a perfect specimen of cinematic terror and suspense, and the film is no less entertaining now than it was in 1960. Psycho was Hitchcock's first horror film, and he seems to relish manipulating every scene for maximum effect. The performances by Anthony Perkins and Janet Leigh are iconic as a troubled man with mommy issues and the woman who sends him over the edge, respectively. The film was a box office hit in 1960, but it didn't get much love from the Academy, despite Psycho being famous today.